our wide barbell shoulder press is a great challenging strength move for our shoulders, primarily the front head and that lateral head of the deltoid. This is going to be an exercise that is a lot harder to perform than a normal barbell shoulder press, so you're going to want to start off with lighter weights. This is also an exercise that can be performed with dumbbells if you do not have access to a barbell. So if you do not have access, make sure to look up our wide dumbbell shoulder press video for how to use those without using a barbell, but instead using those two dumbbells. So you're going to want to borrow from these. You can start on the floor, or if you have a rack at home, you can set those J hooks to about shoulder height so that you can just unrack it, go into your presses, and put it back on the rack instead of picking it up off of the floor. However, I'm going to demonstrate it on the floor here since some of you may not have access to those J hooks. So for this one, the main differences between a wide barbell shoulder press and a regular one is simply our grip distance. So we're going to be grabbing that bar much further apart. We're going to stand up close to that bar, feet about hip distance, instead of grabbing a nice relaxed distance, so kind of arms hanging at our sides like we would for a normal dumbbell shoulder press. We're going to bring those hands out nice and wide outside of shoulder width here. So that is the width we're going to grab that bar, nice and wide for these ones. This is going to make it a lot tougher. It's going to keep constant tension on the shoulders throughout this move. So grab that bar nice and wide. We're then going to bring that bar up to the chest. Make sure those elbows are up underneath of that bar. We're going to squeeze those abs, keep those abs nice and tight as we press on up overhead, bringing that head in between those arms underneath of that bar, and then pulling that head on back as we bring that bar right back down to the chest again. Key things to remember on this exercise. 1, the wide shoulder press is a lot tougher than a normal one, so grab lighter weight. That's my biggest recommendation to you when starting these ones for the first time. Number 2, this is very similar to a normal shoulder press in that you really want to focus on getting your head through in between those arms. Like I mentioned, if you watch any of our other barbell shoulder press demonstrations, with dumbbells, those dumbbells are already kind of in line with the body as you're pressing because they're on the outsides of the head. Whereas with a bar being in front of the chest here, you have to worry about getting your head in the way of that bar, which makes us want to lean back a little bit. And that's okay. You're going to lean back to kind of get the bar up above the head, but then you're going to want to push that head on through so that you're creating that nice straight line. If not, which is very common on this exercise, you're going to kind of lean back slightly and press out in front of you. And that's going to engage more of the upper chest and just the front head of the shoulder. We're not going to be fully getting the most benefit from this exercise like you could if you were actually pushing your head through. So that's the number 1 key thing, other than starting light, that's the number 1 key thing to remember on here. Number 2, core stay nice and tight. Remember, we're not arching that back as we're coming up. We're squeezing those abs, keeping that nice straight torso for here. And number 3 to remember, this is not a push press, which means we are not using our legs. Those legs are staying stationary. We're instead using all of the muscles in the upper body to press here. We're not bending those legs and kind of using them to help drive that weight on up. If you find yourself doing that, you again have too heavy of a weight. You need to drop down on this one.